Hi, welcome to class today. My name is Emily, and this is Tensegrity Flow Yoga. This is our level 2 class for the month, and we'll begin by coming into a comfortable seat. So go ahead and have a seat on your mat, and we'll begin with the eyes closed, bringing some attention to our breathing as we prepare to move. It's taking a few moments to clear the mind, to clear the energy, and prepare to spend some good quality time with ourselves on our mat. So as you begin to slow down your breath consciously, you'll find that the busyness that you brought with you to this moment begins to dissolve. You find this state of peacefulness, calm. And if at any point you find a disruption to that sense of calm, or your mind becomes agitated or triggered in some way, just simply bring your attention back to your breath, back to your movements and how your body and your breath move together. Let's lengthen through the crown of the head with each breath in. And with our next breath out, let's roll the spine gently toward the wall behind you. So the chin will come to the chest, and you're going to roll into the front of your sitting bones. So it's like a seated cat tilt. And on the inhale, we'll roll the shoulders back, lift the heart up to the sky, look up to the sky. Try not to overextend your neck here. And then a few times at your own pace. So exhaling into your seated cat. And inhaling into your seated dog. Exhale, seated cat. And then inhale into dog. Last time here, exhale, cat. And inhaling into dog. And then we're going to take the right shoulder. Let's move it up toward the ear. And we're going to take the right shoulder over to the left knee. It's more like the space in front of the knee. And ground into your right hand, the left hand for stability. Inhale, come back into center. And to the other side. So we'll take the left shoulder up and then over toward the right knee. The space just in front of the right knee, maybe moving the right hand out for stability. And then come back. Let's do that one more time on each side. So take a big shoulder shrug up to get maximum space between the hip and your shoulder. And then press the shoulder forward. And you're getting this nice opening around the top quarter of your right hip. And then come back into center. And then last time, so the left shoulder will come up toward the ear. And then a big shrug forward. And try to find this opening again in the upper glute. And then inhale, let's come back into center. And then both arms swing out, up into the sky. Lengthen, extend through the arms. And then exhale, let's come into our hands and knees, tabletop position. And as we come into our table, bringing the hands about a quarter of an inch forward, and the knees about a quarter of an inch back to get some more length between the head and the tail. And then exhale, cat. Tucking. And inhaling into dog. Sinking through the ribs and lifting through the chest. And at your own pace here, exhaling to cat. And inhaling into dog. One more, exhale, cat. And inhale, dog. And now come into a neutral spine, and let's do a crescent shape here. So we're going to bring the right hand, rotate the fingers so they're like at a 2 o'clock position. Walk your left hand up to 1 o'clock. Extend out through the arm and look back over the right shoulder. So you're getting a C-curve shape without sinking all into your hips. So extending from the hip out through the shoulder and then out through the arm, through the hand. And then return into center. We'll do the other side. So bring the right hand in. Turn your left hand out to around 10 o'clock. And then begin to extend the right hip back and then move out through your right rib so that the left arm comes out. The right arm comes out at about 11 o'clock. And sink your hips back. And then return. Bring the hand back. So let's do it one more time. Bringing the hand out to 2 o'clock. So the fingers rotate out from the shoulder. Extend up and out through the left arm. Let's start at noon. So directly overhead, you're on a ridge top hand. And then walk the hand over to 1 as your hips slide toward the left side. And if that works out okay, then maybe you come over to 2. And breathe. Kind of sinking the hips back and pressing through the left side of your body. So you get this full opening from the left hip all the way out through the left arm. Return, bringing your left hand back, bringing the right hand back to center. Turn the left fingertips out to 2 o'clock. Right arm reaches up. Actually, start by extending up through that whole side of your body, and then the arm comes out and up. Ridge top the hand. You could stop right there. Maybe you move over to 11 o'clock. And then if that feels good and you want to go deeper, maybe over to 2 o'clock. Just experimenting into a position in between those degrees. The hips go back. Pressing your ribs over toward the right side. And then inhale. Let's return. Coming back into center, back into a neutral position. Let's lift up into downward facing dog. So knees high. And then allowing the hips to remain lifted as the heels sink toward the floor. We'll give a pedal for the feet here. So pedaling and opening through the hamstrings, the back of the knees, the calves, the Achilles, the bottom of your feet. And then we'll allow both heels to melt down toward the floor as we gaze between the hands. Let's lengthen and then maybe step or float the feet to the top of the mat into a forward fold. Maybe your hands come to a block. Pressing into the block to take weight out of the hamstrings. So the hamstrings will be more easy to open, more easy to stretch. Hollowing through the navel, deep breath. Maybe shaking your head yes and no a few times to release any tension around your neck muscles. Softening your face. And bringing the hands to the hips. Inhale, long spine, strong core. Stand all the way up into mountain pose, rolling the shoulders onto your back, and then extend the arms to the sky, sitting down into a chair pose. And as your hips come back and wide, lifting the ribs up and wide, and maybe rock here between the hips moving back and the ribs moving forward and toward the sky. So feeling almost like a tug of war action between your hips moving back and down and your ribs moving forward and to the sky. And then let's bring the hands onto the top of the thighs. So reach top of your hands, press into the legs so you can lift up a little bit more through the spine, and then hover the heels and we'll sink down just a bit more. And then reach the arms once more. Firm the front of the thighs, the back of the thighs. Really gripping down strong with the muscles in your feet. And then we'll release, keeping the knees bent. Hands to the floor or a block, and then straightening the legs into your forward fold. Bending the knees. Groins go back and wide. Long spine, strong core. Come up, lift. And then again, we'll come down. So as the chest comes forward, the hips go back. And as the chest melts toward the floor, the hips extend toward the sky. And reverse the action. So hips now toward the floor, heart extending to the sky. And then reverse. So chest toward the floor, hips extending to the sky. 2 more times. Hips toward the floor, chest to the sky. Moving with your breath. Last one. Chest to the floor and the hips to the sky. And then we'll release, stepping back into a plank. Find your solid plank pose. A slight pike for your hips. Strong, staying long in the neck. Finding a gaze and using the whole of your spine and your core muscles to hold stability, helping the legs and the arms. And let's take our right leg. We're going to lift it up into a one-leg plank. And then we'll come into a cheetah, hugging the knee to the heart, pressing off of your left toes. Strong core, strong belly here. Extend, reaching the right leg back. And then we're going to go up into 3-point dog. Reach. Keeping the leg lifted as we return into our 3-point plank. And then back into cheetah, hugging the knee into the chest. Maybe the head toward the knee. So extend the leg back, 3-point plank, and then squeeze up into 3-point dog. And then returning into 3-point plank. And then release, bringing your foot down to the floor, all the way to your belly. Relax your arms. Let's extend up through the chest, finding our Sphinx Cobra or upward facing dog posture. Pressing the hands as we pull the mat back. And then fill the space, fill the torso with movement from the breath. Expanding like fish gills on the inhale. Exhaling, gathering energy, gathering stability and strength. And then release, come down. Let's press back into child's pose. So hips go back to the heels, heart extends forward toward the hands, chest toward the floor. And then back into our hands and knees. Tabletop position, cat tilt, rounding. And then extending. And then we're hugging the right knee in, cat Tilt with the baby cheetah. And then inhale, extending. Exhale, baby cheetah. In. And then extend. Hold the leg back as you reach your leg back, firming through the core, front, sides, back, bending the knee. And then maybe reaching back with your left hand, finding the ankle, and then reaching up to the sky, diagonal bow. Now, if that feels like it's too much, then you can always just hold here, firming. And if that feels like it's too much, then maybe you keep your hand down and just bend the knee. Any of the options are fine. It's important not to strain your knee or your spine or your shoulder in order to perform this posture. Breathing. And then let's release. We'll extend into sunbird. Reach. Long neck. And then bringing the hand down. We'll hug the knee forward. Lowering your hip toward the mat. Low lunge, releasing the legs. And let's go back into our extension for the front leg, toe stretch. And then come back through the low lunge. Step back into plank. And let's find a belly down vinyasa. Exhale through chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Or cobra, or sphinx pose. And then exhale back into downward facing dog pose. And again, we'll pedal our feet here. Pedal. Maybe pressing the shoulders this time also. So right shoulder and left shoulder. And then both heels melt, both sit bones rise. We'll look between the hands. And then step or float to the top of the mat. Forward fold, hands to the floor or maybe to a block. To the hips, inhale, stand all the way up. Coming into your standing posture, standing mountain, inhale, lifting the arms. And then once more, we're going to sit back into chair, but this time bring your legs together before you have your seat. Squeezing the legs strong. And then we'll rotate into revolve chair as we extend the left shoulder over to the right knees. Palm the hands, moving the hips back and heart forward. Maybe lifting off of your heels, getting a little extra room. And you can rock here, back with the sitting bones, and then forward with the ribs with each breath. Release, let's come back up. Before we do the other side, we'll straighten the legs just to release the muscle. And then exhale, sit down again. Ribs moving far away from your hip creases. And then as we begin to rotate the arms around, extend the arms apart. Right shoulder, palms touch. And then revolved chair. Breathing, trying to keep your hips balanced here. And letting the rotation come from the space just under your rib cage. Inhale, let's come back, lift, lift, lift. And then this forward fold will be with our legs together. So you might even need the block on the higher setting. So with the feet together, there's less room for the pelvis to rotate, so it will feel probably more tight in the legs than with the feet wide. Let's breathe. And then we're going to step or float again back into our full plank. So going back into plank, it slips hips slightly piked. neck long, so don't dangle your neck. Keep your neck long. And then hug the left knee into cheetah. You can come to the chest, pushing off of your right toes. And then extend the leg back to 3-point plank. And then we're going to slide up into that 3-point dog. Breathe back into 3-point plank. And then we'll come back into cheetah. Using the exhale, power of that exhale to find cheetah. And then extend again, 3-point plank. Inhale, lifting up, 3-point dog. And then exhale, 3-point plank, hold, and then cheetah. And then let's extend the leg back once more. We'll return into our solid plank pose. And then one solid, strong movement onto the belly, all the way down. And then guiding with the shoulders. So roll the shoulders back. Use your core like a cobra. Lifting up, away from the ground. Finding Sphinx, Cobra, or maybe Up Dog. As you breathe and lengthen, we'll roll the right shoulder back. Take a gaze over the right shoulder. So really you're just giving a hug into the right kidney. Inhale, center. Let's do the other side. So we'll shrug the left shoulder back, gazing over the left shoulder. Maybe you catch a glimpse of your foot in your peripheral vision. Squeezing the left kidney. And then back into center. Release down to your belly. And as we come to the belly, we'll take both arms, reach them out. Inhaling, exhale, lift the legs. Keeping the hands down as we lift the chest. So reach top fingers. Lift the chest, so strong, strong core. And then picking up the arms, extending out to the walls and extending up to the ceiling. Try not to overwork your neck, so let the neck remain neutral. And then release, bring your hands under your shoulders. We'll press back through our child's pose. As the hips move toward the heels, we resist the movement by bringing the chest forward to the hands and then down over the legs. And then you'll move back through your hands and knees and step your left foot forward, this time between your hands to your low lunge. Softening the hips. And then tucking the back toes under, finding toe stretch with the left leg forward. You can move your chest forward over your front leg. You can also use blocks under your hands to take some pressure out of your foot or your knee. Pump with your belly, with the breath. So every molecule of air out of the lungs as you draw your navel in and up. And then let's release. We'll come back through our low lunge. And let's step back through our plank. Find a belly vinyasa. Exhale through chaturanga to the belly. Up dog as we inhale. And then exhale. We'll press the hips to the sky. And finding downward facing dog. And then for this dog, we're going to lift up, bend our knees, and then pivot the heels toward the left side of your mat. And then we'll extend out through the right side body, that whole right side, as you reach top the right hand and reach it up to about 1 o'clock. And then bring your hand back into center. Return into middle with the heels. Let's straighten things out before we do the other side. So back into neutral, and then up again to 10 toes. You'll bend the knees so that you can rotate on the balls of the feet and allow your heels to melt toward the floor. Again, they don't have to touch, just moving toward the floor. And then we'll extend out from the left crease, the left hip crease. Reach up through that whole side body as you extend your left arm way out to about 11 o'clock, maybe 11:30. And then return with the hand, return with the heels, and then allowing the heels to melt toward the floor in neutral. And let's step let's look between the hands, step or float back to the top of the mat. Just as we did before, hands to hips. Inhale, we'll stand up. Now let's go to the long side of the mat. So go ahead and step long. So you're facing the long side. And let's sit down into like a goddess pose. We're preparing for archer here. So we're going to take a moment and let our hips kind of sink from right to left. And notice my hips are back and wide. So I'm not trying to tuck my tailbone under. I'm letting my butt stick way out behind. I'm counterbalancing that with my chest coming forward. Okay, and now we're going to do archer. So we're going to bend the right knee nice and deeply. And as the knee bends, we'll extend the left leg into an almost straight position, but we want to keep a slight bend in the knee so we don't hyperextend. We're just going to pull our bow back, looking over your right hand. You can make some mudra with your hand, or maybe just extend your hand out flat, focusing your attention. Little pulses here with your breath go a long way. Lifting up your ribs, supporting so it's not so much weight in the right leg. And then inhale, let's come up. We'll reach to the sky, and then we're going to pull our bow back on the other side. So pull back with the left, bending the left knee, keeping a slight bend in your right knee. So really grounding that right heel to the floor. And again, some mudra, hand position with your hand, or maybe the palm just flat. Breathe. Imagining your ribs like a hot air balloon, so they float high above your hips. The hips are the basket. The ribs are the balloon. Inhale, let's come up. Let's do it other side again. We'll go a little more quickly. So we're going to pull the bow back. Focus your attention, your drishti out over your left hand. Inhale, let's come up. Now pull the bow back on the left side. Right arm long. Breathe. All right, one more on each side. So let's go up. And as the hips go down, try to keep your ribs floating up. So that will make it easier in your legs. Using your upper torso to support the posture. Up, and then pull back with that left arm, right arm long. Floating the ribs. All right, let's come up. And then we're going to bend both knees. I've got my feet a bit wide, so I'm going to bring my feet in a bit as I sit down into temple or goddess pose. So in archer, the feet tend to slide out, so you might have to adjust them in order to do your temple. So you want to have your knees somewhere close to being underneath or over top of your ankles. So ankles under the knees. Let's take our arms wide, and we're going to cross the right arm over top of the left. Palms up, eagle arms. Big breath, lifting up about a quarter of the way, and then exhale, sink down. Release the arms. Do the other side, so this time the left is on top. So left elbow, cross. If that's too much, you can just hold onto your shoulders. All right, let's come up about a quarter of the way. Breathe in, fill the whole back space, And then exhale, sink down. Really strong body here. All right, let's take the arms out. All right, now we're gonna lift the heel of our right heel. All right, down, lift the left heel. So it gives a little extra sensation in the top of the thighs and the quads. Both heels. Really firming the legs, toning the legs, lower the heels. And then we'll stand up. Oh, nice. And then bring your heels and your toes in position so they're both facing the long side. Clasp your hands behind you as you lift your heart to the sky. And then exhale, we'll forward fold. Now, when I forward fold, here I really like to bend the knees first into a big squat and then tip forward into the posture. It's so much easier in the hamstrings than if you enter in all straight. So maybe try that. And then you can bring your hands down to the floor, maybe to a block. Remember, it's important not to be rounded in your spine, but extended in the spine. We spend too much of our day rounded. In our yoga practice, we're trying to do the opposite action. So lengthening is our goal. You can feel your core, the oblique muscles engaging as you breathe, pumping the air out on the exhale. And we'll bring our hands to our hips and stand all the way up. And as we come into standing, then we'll just heel toe our feet in and come back to facing the short edge of your mat. Getting ready to go down to the floor. We're going to do one crow pose on the way. So inhale, we'll lift our arms. Exhale, fold out over the chest. And you can bend your knees here, moving the knees wide into a Hindi squat. And either stay in the squat variation or maybe ground your hands and come into a Bakasana frog pose, crow pose. Breathing. And release. And then we're just going to drop all the way down onto our sit bones. So maybe bring a hand behind as we have a seat. We'll lengthen. We'll lift into our Navasana boat. We can keep our knees bent, pressing knees and hands together. Maybe working toward next step, which would be to straighten the knees a bit. And then we're going to alternate between the bend and the straight. So we're going to straighten the left and bend the right. And then switch. Switch. Breathing out the mouth, switch. And last time, we'll switch. And center, lift. And then release, bring your feet down. And go ahead and roll onto your back, bringing your knees with you. And rock from right to left. We'll take our arms wide, and the knees will go to the right side and hover above the floor into an easy supine twist. And turning your ribs back toward the left side. Center, other side, knees to the left, ribs rotating around to the right. Hovering the knees here. Center. Let's extend the leg, big supine twist. So move your hips over to the left side of your mat. Inhale, and on your exhale, revolve into the big twist. Ribs turning toward the left. Lower parts turning toward the right. Release and do the other side. So first move your hips toward the right side of your mat. Extend the left leg. Inhale. Exhale. Revolve into the twist. So you can let your hand rest on your knees, but it's important not to force your knee down. That can destabilize your sacrum. So don't force the knee. Use your breath. And release. So come onto the back. And let's move our knees in, and then we'll press them down. So down to the floor, working into bridge. So lifting the hips, grounding the shoulders, working your shoulders underneath of you to the hips. So making a shelf for your hips. Then firming through the glute muscles here. And maybe you can clasp your hands and press the arms down toward the floor. Maybe you lift your heels up to free any tension in your knees. And then the heels can return down, but try to keep your arches lifted. It'll really keep the legs fired up. And then release, come down. Hug the knees in. And then when you're ready, we'll extend our legs and rest into Shavasana. Relaxing both of the legs, both of your arms. Your face, your whole entire body. As you lie here resting on the floor, letting go of all of the tension in the body and the mind. If you find your mind somewhere else in the past or in the future, and simply return to your breath. The sensation of your breath within your body. So you can stay here in Shavasana for as long as you have time. Thank you so much for joining me for your practice today. Namaste.